Today we're going to talk with Matt and Julie LaCroix, a fabulous couple that went sailing in Greece with me last year, and they have gone on to get certified, or at least Matt has gotten certified as a skipper, and they're doing all kinds of trips, and it's just been really fun to watch their journey explode onto the sailing scene. So we're going to dive in now with Matt and Julie LaCroix.
Welcome to the What Could Go Right podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Orton.
And I'm Emily Orton.
And here we talk about personal growth and sailing. In 2014, we moved aboard a fixer-upper sailboat and bootstrapped a year sailing with our 5 kids, and it changed our lives forever.
We tell the whole story in our memoir, our book, 7 at Sea. On this podcast, we want to help you go from fear to freedom, one adventure at a time.
Julie, so happy to have you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
You bet. So I'm going to read your intro here, and then we're just going to dive in and talk about this. Matt grew up on the coast, on the coast in San Diego, North County area, spent much of his youth surfing, always interested in boating and fishing. And after marrying, you settled in Nevada where Julie was raised, having 4 kids, and spent most of your spare time on Lake Mead. That's where my dad grew up as well. We refurbished a 40-foot River Queen houseboat and kept it at Echo Bay, which our kids say are their fondest memories of their childhood. We love to work together on home projects and have remodeled many homes. Matt grew up in construction, so each component of building comes naturally. Julie became a realtor to sell completed projects and loves helping friends and family selling their homes. Thank you again so much for being on today.
And I want to add, we didn't say that you've been married for 36 years, like working together and raising a family. It's just like a massive triumph, and I always love to say having a family is a huge adventure. So congratulations on all fronts.
Well, thanks. And I think when we were in Greece, that was our anniversary trip. So
yeah,
you got to spend our 35th anniversary with us.
Yeah, that's true.
Lucky me. Well, Emily and I are having our 30th anniversary next month, and so we're just trying to follow your good example.
Nice.
So why don't we pick it up there, because that's really where we met. I was doing a trip in Greece, and you guys joined with a bunch of friends, and so I'm just curious if you can share kind of how you heard about it, what made you want to get involved, what made you want to come on board, and your any memories from that trip, and then we'll just kind of take it from there.
Go ahead.
How we were invited was through our daughter-in-law's parents, who we've known, for 20 years. And they're up for anything. They have great adventures. So we knew it was going to be a good trip. You guys came highly recommended. So we definitely hopped on board, I think, the day of and put a deposit down. I myself was a little nervous. I had, I didn't know what the boat was like, but I trusted them, so we were excited. But I did have some reservations that I don't think I told anybody, that were quickly relieved as soon as we got on the boat. But I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it was the Eikleys do a lot of adventures. We've only been to Europe once or twice on big trips. We've done a few cruises with the big boats and stuff. So this was an eye-opener, and it just kind of matched up with our anniversary, and we just said, let's go. And it was, I can't speak highly enough about the experience. From the moment we got to Athens, we had rented a car. We got in about 2-3 in the morning, and we knew we had a lot of time.
It was crazy.
Yeah. So what we did was we wanted to see the coastline. So we got the car in Athens. It was a 24-hour rental agency. And we got in the car and we headed south. So we didn't go to Athens. We headed as far south as we could until we hit the ocean. And then we just took the whole day driving the coastline back to Athens, which was a trip in itself. We saw a lot of World War II memorial sites. We saw beautiful beaches. We went to places in that area where they didn't know what an Americano coffee was. So it was exclusively locals. I ended up getting 1 or 2 cold drinks before I actually got a hot coffee ordered.
So I remember your coffee quest was a little bit, you're like, hey, they don't even know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah. And we made it back to the boat early, and it worked out really good because we got to meet Eric, and we got help him with the provisions on the boat and try to assist him. I think we made a car run to get ice and a few other things. So that just worked out really good.
Mm-hmm.
Really good.
And I like how you said you got to try a trip without 500 of your closest friends. It's very different than a cruise ship, for sure.
Yeah. So talk about that. You'd been there. You've been to the Greek, and you went to Mykonos and Santorini and some of those regular stops for cruise ships. And you know, I'm curious the contrast for you. What was that? You know, if you were to, I guess, just to contrast the two.
I'm gonna say this. Julie won't travel any other way except a catamaran. She did. She said, no, you know, she doesn't even look at cruise liners or any type of those vacations and Airbnbs and things like that. She goes, no, if we're going to a place, we're gonna be on a boat and we're gonna travel that way. And I think it was just the beauty, right? I mean, just the beauty of the ports, of the bays that we stayed in, and of course our girls in our family love the travel aspect of the catamaran, or Julie does.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, when
The sailing part, the, you know, getting from place to place, the scenery, the peaceful on the water, you know, there's just a lot to be said. And all the wildlife you see too. When, you know, for me that's fun, because when you're with a big group or on a cruise ship, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing the dolphins and the you know, stingrays, and so it's just, and I don't want to talk negatively about, you know, cruise ships or Airbnbs, because they do have their place and they filled a big void for us for a long time, but now that we know. So it's,
yeah.
I don't think there's any going back. Yeah.
And I remember when we were raising our kids, after my kids were in their 20s, I asked what were the greatest parts of the trip, and they said it was getting to the destination. Yeah. And I'm thinking in my mind as a parent, it's like, let's get to the destination. So we'd be hauling a trailer and we'd be heading for a destination, but some of my kids just like the drive. And it's kind of like the catamarans. You know, you hop on a boat, you're headed to a destination, you've never seen it before, and the drive from point A to point B is definitely part of the experience. And depending on weather conditions, you could have a glassy, beautiful motoring to a location, or you could have a windy up and down, like on our way back from Greece, to where we were hitting some 5, 6, 7, 8 foot waves, and they're coming over the bow, and it was pretty amazing.
I was looking at Eric's face. It was like that flight attendant. You're looking at them to see if you should be nervous or not.
Yeah.
Eric was just calm as could be.
Calm as could be, and I was
like, okay, we're good.
I was thinking of my mind is like, if I was a skipper, those guys would not be on the front of that boat, like, because it was amazing. It was amazing.
Oh, that's so funny. You get a big splash and it feels like such an adventure. I love to stand at the front of the boat
and
in
the
the big
salt
waves.
in that water. I mean, we just had salt in our eyebrows,
You were caked.
eyelashes. Yes.
Yeah.
It was so fun. That was such a neat experience.
And
it really was.
and the destination, like in Greece with you, Eric. I grew up in Southern California, so I'm used to the Pacific Ocean and stuff. And the water and the attributes of the oceans that we sailed through and the islands was incredible. I mean, just being in the warm water, of course, and then being in a little more solidified water where you float easier, you dive in, and you just, it was just amazing. But I remember on our trip to Greece, and I'll never forget this, was you pulling into Hydra. Is it called
Hydra?
Hydra?
Yeah, either way.
And it looked like we were at the beginning of a James Bond movie with these huge tall ships, and the bay was packed. I mean, there was hardly enough.
Trader Joe's parking lot.
It was huge. Well, Eric goes right in the center of everything and gets real close, trying to find a place to park the catamaran. And of course, he had to be told, we've been out of room for a couple days. You got to go to another bay. But the tall boats, and I'm not kidding when I say some of these boats were hundreds of millions of dollars.
full staff,
full sailing
20 to 30.
vessels, and just beautiful. And the night we were there, they had an opera, and we were of course in our normal clothes for the trip, which was shorts, t-shirts, and sandals. And people at that location were in fully dressed, had all their bags, and they looked classy. And that port was so amazing to me just because of the history with the turrets on the sides and the aesthetics of a Roman port, or whoever controlled it and built it. And it was just like it was back in the day, except for all the modern vessels inside the bay. But that was just one of many experiences on the trip to Greece, which was just spectacular. I'll never forget it for as long as I live.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that, and it makes me thrilled, and it really is a great spot. I love to go there, and so yeah, it's fun, and you kind of like, you're peeking into a world where it's like, you know, I never really thought about it as James Bond, but kind of like the mega yacht world. It's not a world that a lot of people get to see, and you know, for those of us that can't afford the multi-$100 million yachts, this isn't a bad economy seat into that world.
I'm not sure if you remember, but even on those $100 million yachts, things go wrong. And when we pulled in, that big, tall sailing ship, if you recall, had lost its anchor, got stuck on the bottom. And
I
they
was
had
going to bring it up, and so I'm glad you did. They had the dinghy out there, and they were trying to figure out how to get their anchor. It was all tangled and snarled, and I was like, man, this is a professional crew on this beautiful boat, and they still crossed lines with some other boat.
And they probably had 20 people working to try to get that chain and that anchor off the bottom, and I just looked over and I go, oh, yep, that's a major problem.
And I said, let's go anchor the next day over, and we'll walk back and avoid the fray. Oh, man. That was such a fun trip. It was such a fun trip. You guys were so great to have on board. And I'm curious, because this has kind of opened maybe a new chapter is too strong of a word, but you've pursued it. And so I want you to share with, you know, you've told us a little bit that you went and you got certified, and you've told us about some of your trips, but kind of walk through what it sparked for you, and what next steps kind of came for you after we'd been sailing.
Well, I think I'll dive in. I'm not sure if you remember, but I was on the bridge a lot with you, just watching your attributes, how you did things, asking you questions, especially when we initiated the sail to our first destination. And then we'd talk about the configuration of the sails, and I would throw an idea, and Eric was really receptive, and he goes, I don't know, let's try it. If I said, hey, let's try this configuration and that. And I think, to be honest with you, Eric, I would say you were my motivation to go to the next step, because I had some sailing knowledge and experience. I owned a big houseboat, and I used to driving that. So, man, the minute we got back, it was like, I guess I'm gonna try to get my SLC license, and I'm pretty close to there. But in my avenue to get certified, I found out that at the Caribbean, you actually do not need a license to sail in the Caribbean. And so what I ended up getting certified, not having a license, but I'm now certified. And we went out and rented a boat in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that was my first solo command, I would say. And we went for it. And they had me checked out with a captain there. So they had a captain on board. And
did he sail with you the first day, or did he just kind of go through
No,
and check this?
Yeah, what he did is he was a really, really nice guy. So he took the boat out because, of course, he didn't know my experience. So he took the boat out of the marina. And then I took it over, and then we were probably going to go a 2-hour cruise to another port. And about a hour in, no autopilot. I was just cruising the boat. And I go, do you want me to perform any moves or any exercises? And he goes, oh no, just by watching what you're doing now, you're good. The only thing I'm going to do is make sure your team knows how to anchor the boat. And so we anchored a couple times, and he showed us how to tie off the dinghies. Tie off to mooring balls. And then we went right into a bay at the next island and backed that catamaran up to the concrete seawall, and he jumped off, and we headed out. And that was day one of our experience.
Oh, that is great. How was that for you, Julie, to have Matt in charge of the boat? I mean, he's been in charge of your boat for a long time.
He likes to think so.
Right.
No, just him maneuvering when he dropped off the captain that was just making sure things were good. It was a tight port, and and he's weaving in and out, and I'm like, I this would be really tricky. Like, I thought this is going to be tricky to do. He whipped right in there, gave him room to jump off, worked around, got right back out, and I just thought, oh, he's got it. Like this, it was impressive that he could, because that's a big boat. I think our boat was 40.
It was a 46-foot lagoon.
Yeah, and
those are big. Yeah.
I thought, okay, we're good. I was impressed, honestly. And what an experience that I just knew that we were embarking on, And after seeing that, I'm like, oh, we can.
Yeah,
we got this.
That was my only stressful time, and it wasn't stressful because of driving the boat or anything. It was stressful because I felt like I would let everybody down if I didn't pass that first orientation on the boat, and somebody's going to say, oh, you have to have a captain with you. So it's like my whole trip was made after that first 2 hours. And when I maneuvered in that bay and I backed up into the seawall and he jumped off and said, have a great trip, it was like, okay, that's it. The whole thing, the whole trip was worthwhile.
Right.
Just in that first 2 hours. Yeah. I was
That's
like, okay, this is awesome. And then we started our trip. We had a good itinerary planned, not set in stone. That's another thing I love about our trip to Greece. To where Eric would talk about the day, would what do you guys want to experience? These are some of the areas that I think might be great for these type of activities. What do you guys think? And everybody, most of the time, it was like, let's go. It was like, let's get started. Or if we had, hey, we'd really like to go out to dinner tonight and stuff. Okay. And Eric, it was so great traveling with Eric because he would see a packed location and he goes, oh, they can accommodate one more. And he would just go in and back the boat up in the perfect spots. And it was a great experience in every port that we hit in Greece. And every place where we went on our first Virgin Island experience, U.S. Virgin Islands, was spectacular. And every place gets better. It's so funny when you're traveling in a catamaran. You would think that a beach wouldn't get better, or a location or a town, but everyone has such unique attributes. Every place is better than the one before. And we talk about where would you go back to? Which one was your favorite? And it's like, I can't pick a favorite.
Yeah.
People ask me that all the time because, we go to a lot of destinations and they say, well, what's your favorite? And I said, that's like trying to say who's my favorite kid. I love them all, and as far as sailing goes, I only go back to the places that I really enjoy, and every time I go back, I discover something new, and so it doesn't get old.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because, first of all, who was on board? Did you have friends, family? Who was your crew?
All friends.
Well, we had the Eikleys. They went with us, and
Awesome.
Sam and Marquesa. Sam's a physician. Mm-hmm. And he is a mechanical genius. Mm-hmm. So this is another thing about respecting you as a captain, is because a lot of times you'll be maybe the only one that really understands the mechanics of a boat. So you have 100% of the weight on your shoulders. When I did my first cruise, I had three couples, and the men were physicians or mechanics that could make anything run, that could figure out any computer system. So it was the greatest thing because it was such a support group. It was like a total support group. When we went out, I knew I didn't have to worry about every mechanical component on this boat. And I knew that Sam could handle it, or a couple other friends, couples that went with us. They had the expertise, and I could just back off and worry. And then as a captain, you worry about weather, you worry about depth, you worry about anchoring, you have all these different things to worry about. I didn't want to have to worry about the AC unit or all the systems and stuff like that.
Yeah, the AC units.
Fridge.
The fridge and the heat.
I can imagine Sam down in the engine compartment, and he reaches out and he says, "Scalpel."
And that's how those guys are. They if there was a mechanical problem on that boat, which there wasn't,
Yeah, we were very lucky.
we were very lucky. Everything worked as designed. But if there was an issue, they dive in. And they're not scared to where I might be a little more reserved, but
On top of that, too, though, it was a good route because, while we were sailing, or if we just happened to stop somewhere, they had a line in the water, which was fun because it was literally like reeling up in an aquarium. It was a different fish every time. So we would look it up like, oh my gosh, that is this. It's very poisonous. We didn't keep anything, but it was, so they were a fun group for that too, because they always had something going. We were either paddleboarding or they had, a line in the water, pulling up really unique things that were really fun to see, and of course let them back free. But it was just a good group.
And that's a great thing. And it was probably the same in Greece, but I didn't know it. As you charter in the Caribbean, your charter includes your fishing license and all that kind of stuff. So you're okay to do those activities just by being on the boat. Basically, it's registered, and all your fishing requirements are met just being on that boat. So
I believe in the U.S. Virgin Islands that's the case. In the British side, it's not.
You have to get
so
it.
I, So yeah, that's, as a heads up for you as you go out on trips, just know that it's going to vary from location to location. But it sounds like the ones that you've done so far, which were U.S. Virgin Islands, and you said the Abacos and the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So that's a real win. Did you ever cook up anything?
I think we cooked up a lobster.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we got for Karina's birthday. She got a lobster.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they had some. They went out and got some lobster in our first location,
That's true.
and it worked out. That worked out really good. So
Yeah,
it was
fun.
a lot of fun. But in our first destination, right after we left the captain off, we wanted to go and pretty much have a safe harbor and kind of just experience everything like that. So we went and got a buoy at this one bay, and went in. And of course, every time you go in, there's hiking, and there's things you can do on land. So we went to some old historic sites where they would process, I don't know what they were processing, if it was rum or if they were processing sugar cane or so just old big stone buildings and just beautiful, but of course taken over by the jungle. And
is it St. John or St. Thomas?
This was,
I think it was St.
And
John.
if you don't remember, that's fine. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it was St. John.
yeah, it was a different island. It wasn't St. Thomas. Because we headed kind of eastward and went to the southwestern loop, and I think there was a national park there.
Yeah, St. John's National Park. That's great.
It might have been Christmas Cove.
Christmas Cove,
on
maybe.
St. James.
She's got a list,
Yeah.
and it's so funny because in Greece, I love this. With traveling with Eric, it's like, okay, let's get together and let's remember where we went because you get into the rhythm of waking up in another beautiful place. And I always like to get up early. Coffee's my vice, so I like to have a cup of coffee. And the boat's quiet, everybody's still sleeping, and I would get up and just have a cup of coffee and check out the boat and check out the scenery and the sun coming up and just the aesthetics of the beauty of every location you've been in. It's just every morning's different. So by the time you get to the 6th day, you don't remember. You hardly remember, because every place is different. And so anyway, I love it, and I still have the recording.
We've really realized we take notes everywhere we go.
Yeah.
Every
day.
Just kind of keep a log of what we did, what we saw. Did we like it? that's been very helpful because it does fly by
And
you're busy.
And when we got back to Athens, Eric laid out the map. He goes, "Okay, so let's let everybody take videos. We're going to talk about where we went." And he went through day one. You know, we slept in the harbor in Athens, and then we headed to this location, and this is where we saw these people, and this is where this happened, or this is where it got windy, and we drug anchor here, and. I mean, so you. Oh, sorry.
We posted it to Facebook, so.
So it was
drug anchor yet. You will. Just wait.
Oh, I know. And do you know what I do? And you taught me a great.
He does not sleep well. He is up all night.
Well, you taught me a great lesson because I'll have my crew. The crew would drop anchor, and they go, "That's good, that's good." And I go, "No, drop another 20 feet."
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Taught you well.
But anyway, we went through the whole trip, and it's amazing. Every day is like a great routine of where you had lunch, where you had breakfast, where we ported, the city that we backed into, or we were in this cove and anchored, and this is where such and such got this fish, or this is where we saw this, and every day was spectacular.
Well, I'm glad you have those memories, and it is important, I think, to keep a log. And I think both when you're on a boat, but also in life, I think doing a little journaling every now and then is so helpful to keep perspective on the bigger picture. And yeah, you're out for a week on a boat, and it feels like a month, and because you pack so much into a day, not like in a hurried, rushed sort of way, but it's just such a rich life that I think it feels very dense in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
It feels like time slows down because so much is new.
Yeah, you live like 2 or 3 days in one on a boat, I feel like.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had your trip to the Virgin Islands, when was that?
February of this year.
February of this year, okay.
Yeah.
And did you do a certification class there, or did you do a class prior to that?
I did not education, so I took classes, tested out. I went to San Diego and took a practical written exam, and all I'm pending now to get my SLC is the practical on the boat sailing trip, and I haven't done that yet. So anyway, to make a long story short, I'm a certified captain 3, I think they call it, and then I have a coursework in catamarans. So awesome. I completed the catamaran coursework, and in my experience with the houseboat, of course, it wasn't a sailing vessel, but we had a 40-foot houseboat that we refurbished, we put in Lake Mead. So I was used to the twin screw, type of maneuverability of that. And to be honest with you, that's what we did do a lot of sailing, and we got to talk a little more about the Virgin Island because we actually went over a large passage to the Spanish Virgin Islands. What's that island called? Yeah. So we went all the way down there, and yes, it was. And I tell you, this is one thing about having people with you that want to experience it. They, because of course, new skipper, first time, doing a boat on my own and stuff, and they go, "We want to go to this island way over here." And of course, in my mind, said, "Heck, no, we're not going to that island down there. I'm not traversing this open ocean."
Come back too. That's upwind.
Yeah. So to make a long story short, when Sam and Marquesa say we have to go here, and it was like, let's go. It was like, okay, let's go. The wind was good. There wasn't any red flags to stop us. Boat was operating good, so we did it. And we did that 4 or 5 hour trek down there. Had our sails out and added one engine just to get the speed up, so give us more time there. And every location we went to, again, this is the best beach ever. This is the best location ever.
It really was, though. That one had like a little break on the beach. And we played in the water like
body surf,
like kids for hours and hours. So it really was one of our top beaches that we loved. So we're so glad we took that little risk and did it. Yeah, it was fun.
And you know, you say it's a risk, but it's really not. I
Just
mean,
pushing yourself. Maybe.
yeah, pushing myself mentally, like stepping out of the box. But that was the same thing we did to go to Greece. It's like, oh man, what is Greece? Are we going to be safe in Athens? Are we going to be this? Are we going to be that? You know, so you bring up this stigma of worrying so much that you don't go. So when we stepped out of our box and says, yeah, let's go to Greece. Let's just go, you know. And of course we do our research and make sure it's safe and we don't do anything out of the norm that would increase our probability of something happening. But it just worked out, and it's such an eye opener because I think we're doing that more now than we would have with going to the U.S. Virgin Islands, with going to Abaco. We got to talk about Abaco. That was a spectacular trip.
Yeah, we're gonna
And
get there
then
in a second.
our next one in the British Virgin Islands. So, yeah.
I love what Julie said about playing like kids for hours, and I think that's something that happens when you get out on a catamaran and you get in the water and you're interacting with the wildlife, or you're just so amazed at the scenery, or even if it's those, like you said, James Bond boats, like it's a little bit, I like to call it soft adventure, because you don't feel like you're in danger of any kind, but it does feel like a great adventure, and it brings up this feeling of play. And I like to say that play is the deepest form of rest. Maybe I'll learn that something else is an even deeper form of rest. But we, you know, as we, you know, grow up, we raise our families, we have our kids, we have, you know, all the things that we're responsible for, and all our obligations and all the things that we need to worry about. And when you can actually play, that is just the best luxury. And I'm just so happy for you that you got to do this with these good friends. And how much better friends are you now that they were with you and you knew you could count on each other, and that they were, you know, pulling up fish, and just this experience you have together, like incredible experience, great memories. And I can only imagine that those friendships just became so much more dear to you after sharing that together. Anyway, I just don't know if people have played like that and realize how special it is.
Yeah.
Get yourself in a situation where you truly can play as an adult.
Right. Well, and I feel like, you know, we all came back just having so much fun and bonded even more than, you know, and so much so that we're all going on the same trip to the British Virgin Islands, except for one couple can't, but it's all the same group going again, because it is. You just, and we've really run into this too, which is so interesting, and we're so surprised by it when we have invited other people. There's a lot of reservations, a lot of fear, a lot of, you know, bringing up stuff about pirates. I'm like, I just, you know, yeah, we're really kind of shocked at the fear, you know, that is involved with what we're doing. And so we're trying to, like, okay, this is what it's like. We're trying to post more pictures so people can kind of see, like, it's unique. And we get a lot of cruise comparisons, like, well, we're going to take a cruise instead. I'm like, okay, you know, but look at these pictures, you know, so.
Well, and we were trying to figure out why people were like that. Like, you know, we would reiterate, it's safe, it's all these different things. And, you know, I think a lot of people have different stigmas, like they might be just a little overweight and they don't want to be caught out there. You know, they don't want to be out there with a group of people in the water and stuff, but all that should really go out the window. And it's kind of like when we went to Greece and we'd swim with the locals, and everybody's just out having fun and all different types and shapes and all this kind of stuff, but everybody just enjoying being outside and being that. But we could not figure out all the reasons why people wouldn't jump on board with a trip on a catamaran in a beautiful area. And yeah, and it was interesting. It was really interesting. But I think if people take that first step, they're going to be hooked. They're going to be, let's do this next year. Let's do this next year, and it won't stop.
Well, I think it's so great that you guys are articulating this so well. because, and you're also very self-reflective, and you're saying, hey, we had some reservations before we came out, and then you kind of cross this threshold into this new world, and you're like, this is amazing. Why doesn't everybody want to do this? And honestly, the reason our podcast is called What Could Go Right is because that's what really flipped the script for us, because we were very scared to move on to a sailboat with our kids, because we had all those same questions. I figured out where the pirates were and where they weren't, and we knew we were going to be nowhere near the pirates. But then you're like, will our kids be safe? And before you take a trip, living on a boat is different than going out for a week. So there's different questions, but really it's coming from a mindset of, well, what could go wrong? Really, what could, and how do I prevent that? And you say, well, very few things could go wrong on a cruise. And so, well, I just want to be safe. And that's a perfectly legitimate choice. We did a cruise ship for the first time this year. We were invited to speak.
Yeah, we wanted to see what it was all about,
but we're like, wow, this is so different, so different.
I wanted back on the catamaran for sure. I liked, it was nice that we had something to do because we were speaking. I was like, oh, well, we have a responsibility, and we'll be like meet and greet and stuff. But I don't know. I would have, and even then, excursions got canceled.
People had plans to go on shore and go do a horseback ride on the beach or something, and it would just get canceled because maybe
for whatever reason
enough people hadn't signed up or something, and so you had disappointments even when you're on a perfectly safe, well-planned, punctual, structured cruise ship. And so anyway, I just love that you guys have this outlook of, why wouldn't you want to do this? What's the downside? There's none. And obviously I'm in agreement with you, so that makes it easy. But
one great thing too, and it's a minor thing, but it's a major impact on the boat, was just the experience cooking and being in the kitchen, and everybody talking about what we're going to have to eat, and then the preparation and the teamwork for the cleanup, and just to me all that was really special too. Good food, good conversation, and all that's the preparation is all that is part of enjoying the meal, So I really enjoyed that on the boat too.
Well, and I feel like you can linger, because you're not waiting for a table. People aren't, pushing you out. So, a dinner that we had made turns into 3 hours, of everybody sitting, talking. We get the cards out,
Right.
We're playing games, and it just you have that luxury of just lingering and enjoying each other, and not moving on to the next thing because we have to.
And on your points, when you talk about your relationships with the people that are on the boat, because you're on a boat for a week, so you're building that relationship. And expanding your circle versus your circle getting smaller as you get older. And we've noticed that immensely on the size of your circle. And if you could go on a boat and all of a sudden meet 6 new people and have a relationship with those people because you have something in common that you experienced and may experience again, that's what everybody should be doing. Everybody shouldn't be held up in your house, eliminating individuals in your circle. You need to be going out and experiencing things as you get older, and be confident that you can go to Greece or Croatia or these different points on your yearly vacation, or every couple months, or whatever you feel like you want to experience. But yeah, so we need to widen our circles and expectations.
I love that idea, because we see our crews, each group, I would say, they turn into a friend group. It's a little bit like, your graduating class, and they keep in touch because we have a text thread. And when we went to Greece, you all kind of already knew each other, so I feel like that was baked in. But a lot of times I'll take out a boat full of people who are meeting each other for the first time in person when we get on the dock. And by the end of the week, they have 8 to 10, 11 new friends, and they still keep in touch a year or 2 later, and I think it's really fantastic.
I really like that you mentioned about the food as well, because sometimes it can sound like, whoa, why would I pay and now I also have to cook? You know,
and do dishes.
And do dishes. That's one of the things, and just understanding human nature and how we operate. We see that it actually gives us a feeling of belonging and an opportunity to be generous, and it's a connection point, and it's one of the things that helps you feel really comfortable on the boat because you've been digging around through the cupboards and you know where everything is. And when we say try living on a sailboat, we want it to feel like your home for the week, you know. And I'm really glad that you had that experience, and we find that is a big part of it. And we'll see people go above and beyond and say like, well, I want to make breakfast for everybody, or hey, since we've got this long sail, I just decided to whip up, you know, we had a guy on the Croatia trip who just was like a scoop of ice cream and a stick of chocolate and an orange and some whipped cream. It was just like this. He made this whole little gourmet plate for every single person, just kind of mid-sail as a surprise that he just, you know, for an act of generosity, and you know, it was so fun for him to give and so fun for everyone to receive. And that thread is definitely still active, and some of those people have met up in other locations, you know, and it's not a chore, right? It's a chance
Right,
to connect.
right.
Not at all.
I remember Eric backed into Poros and squeezed in between some Greek sailors and another catamaran and stuff, and we're parked in there. And the next day popped up, and of course I'm up early, right? Because I like to watch the sun come up and have a cup of coffee. And I start making some breakfast, and nobody's up. Of course, everybody's sleeping. I'm the only one up. Well, heck, I had this big omelet made, and I'm looking over there, and these four Greek men were out smoking and having their coffee and stuff. So I made like a super big omelet, like a 4 or 5 or 6 egg omelet, and put it on a plate and just kind of walked out. Didn't even talk to them. Just kind of passed it over the safety lines of both boats, you know, and those 4 guys just sat there and ate that omelet. Man, they were just like smiling and having a good time eating it, and then they buffed out the plate, really cleaned it up really nice, and it was just kind of it was an international relationship had started. That's all I'm saying.
Hey Matt,
That's so great.
world peace is going to start with you. One omelet at a time. There you go.
It's so great. I mean, I just love that interaction with the locals, and the sailing is definitely a community.
Yeah.
And it has its own terminology. It has its own, you know, traditions, and it was just great trips, you know.
I did not know about that. So
that's so cool.
What a cool memory. Okay, so tell us about the Abacos, because you were in February. You were in the Virgin Islands, and then you just got back from the Abacos? And I think it's crazy that I was on the phone on a Zoom call the other day with somebody who ran into you in the airport, and she's planning to come on one of our trips, and I don't even know how that came up. So I just want to hear all about going to the Abacos and how you ran into Wendy. And anyway, so take it away.
We were sitting in the Miami airport waiting for our flight to Marsh Harbor.
No, we're on the return. Remember it was on the return, so she got on the plane, the small jet, leaving Marsh Harbor.
Okay. And it happened to sit by us, and we were talking about, you know, what our trip had been like, and we mentioned we had been on a catamaran. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I think I might try that. I'm a little bit nervous." She's like, "Have you ever heard of the Awesome Factory?" And I'm like, "I know them." and I go, "Is that Eric?" And she's like, "Yes." So we just sold her on like how amazing. You don't miss it. You want to do this. Yeah.
And we talked about all the experiences in Greece, and you should immediately sign up and go, and wherever you decide to go, you know, make it happen.
It's funny because after we have been talking, her concerns were helping with the meal, and basically helping with the meal and the conditions of, you know, your room and bathroom and stuff. So we talked about that, and we're like, oh, it's nothing. Like, helping with the meal is just, you know, everybody working together. It's not a big deal. You know, you don't have to bring the food, you know. And so I think some of her concerns, we were able to go like, oh yeah, don't even worry. Don't let that stop you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that worked out pretty good though. It was fun meeting her and listening to hers, and I really think that that conversation really led into Eric's and Emily's pre-trip communication.
Yeah.
And pre-trip conversations with the group on the Eric and Emily really went above and beyond to facilitate the relationship of the group prior to leaving. Yeah. So basically you get to see the faces of people. Everybody talks about their expectations, whether it's the cabins, the staterooms, whether it's cooking, whether it's being in the water, whatever the things are. They really try to form the team before they meet on the boat.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because you want to have everybody on the same page, and some people might be needing a little more assistance. Some people are willing to give that assistance, and to try to bring everybody together prior to actually heading off on the boat. And I got to commend you for that. I think that's a great avenue to
We're
keep going
still
down.
learning this because on our Abaco trip, we took friends of our son who he's just graduating. He's 32, just getting out of grad school, and so it was some classmates and some friends, from work from DC. So from North Carolina and from DC, and they were, they're younger, so I don't think they had the concerns that maybe, I don't know, that we had, but they asked no questions. They literally did not know what the boat was like, what the conditions were like. They just showed up, and they were like, this is so nice. I don't have to share a room.
Yeah.
Like, they thought they were going to share a room with somebody. Yeah. So we need to learn from you on how to break it down, but they were very willing to go. But with a different crowd, we might have to do a little more work. But.
And I think Cole, our son, actually designed the individuals he invited on the trip. So he had their personalities and everything kind of meshing,
Yeah.
and knew everybody would get along. And really, the dynamics just nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, great people that went, and the Abacos was just a great trip. And I have a captain experience I want to share with Eric down the road as we talk about.
I want to hear it.
Okay. So, and this is kind of embarrassing to me. So anyway, we're cruising through the Abacos, and beautiful day, just gorgeous out. And I see one person missing in our group. I kind of get a feel for who's in the salons, who's where everybody is. A lot of people are forward sunbathing and stuff and having a good time. And I went down to get a drink, and I saw the lifelines in the back of the catamaran. The port side lifelines weren't hooked up. Mm. And I'm saying, whoa, how come the port lifelines aren't hooked up? And then I go, where's such and such? And I ask everybody, has anybody seen such and such? And they go, no, we haven't seen her. She's either, we think she might be in her port room, but if not, she's out in the water. And I'm thinking, Julie, go down and knock on the door. So, first I went down and knocked on the door, and the door was locked, and I pounded on the door and no answer. And I came back up. I go, Julie, go down and knock on the door again. I have to make sure she's there.
So I had sent a text to, and then went down and knocked.
We asked everybody, is she in her stateroom? Well, the door was locked, and it was like, hop on, get up on the what do you call that? The hatch. Get in the hatch, open the hatch, and
Matt was like, pull up the hatch and just see,
and
just
and I was trying to get her to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because I was on the bridge
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was genuinely nervous. It's like, where is this person?
And this was not just like an immediate thing. Like Matt, we knocked, we texted.
It's over like 10 minutes.
10 minutes, and Matt was like, I gotta know.
I gotta know. I can't be sitting here driving the boat not knowing where everybody is.
So I'm trying to get the hatch doing. He's like, let me do it.
She's trying to do the hatch and stuff, and so anyway, I peek in. Of course, worst case scenario, she's not fully dressed, and sorry about that. And then everybody on the boat, of course, starts laughing, and it's like, you guys, this isn't funny. So,
Right.
so she was a great sport about it. She came up and she goes, thank you for checking on me and making sure I was okay. And she
Yeah.
handled it. She handled it like a champ, because I was genuinely worried that she
She's
I
gone
could have
overboard.
slipped off the boat. The lifelines on the port side weren't up, and it's like, I got to find out. I got to know. And anyway, I ended up catching her. Anyway.
And she came up, she's
Yeah.
like, I know I have to come up and make a joke about this before it gets awkward.
Yeah.
So she came right up.
So anyway, they joked about that the whole trip.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't let.
I have to say that one thing since we went out, I've created a casting off checklist for every trip, and I just say, hey guys, here's everything that needs to happen before we pull anchor or leave the dock or cast off from a mooring ball, because there's a lot of steps to do, and it's hard when you're new on a boat to know what they are. And the very, very first step is make sure everyone's on board.
Right.
And believe it or not, it's actually really important, and it's easy to skip because you just think, oh, so-and-so is in their cabin.
I think they're
there, and then it turns out they hopped off and they went to go get a bag of ice
or a gelato.
and then we leave. They left something on the beach, and so they took the paddleboard. But it's so easy to leave somebody behind, and it's scary if you think you lost somebody overboard and nobody noticed. That would be the worst. So I think you were right with the skipper to be worried.
Yeah, and that was my scary part. It was like with the door being locked. I realized she might be in there, right? I mean, that's where you lock the door, but you could have thrown the lock and shut the door. And then, so it was a rabbit hole, and I ended up.
Why did you just answer? Yeah.
Did you say, did you
Right?
guys
And she said she answered, but she was in the shower, and then nobody was at the door. But then she went and laid down. She didn't come up and say, hey, was somebody knocking on my door?
No, she had AirPods in.
Oh,
She had
AirPods.
AirPods
Oh,
in,
gosh.
and her phone had. She said her phone had died, so she didn't get the text.
Yeah.
So later on, she's like, "Oh, I just got your text."
Yeah.
So it was just that
At
perfect
least
storm of
Perfect storm.
everything going wrong. So
It was-
that was.
It was almost as
or peeking your head in.
It was almost as bad as when Jory came up on the last day and said she could see me taking a shower through her stateroom when her light was off. And I go, thanks, Jory. Jory, thank you for waiting until the last day to tell me that. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember they had these they were like white frosted plexiglass walls, and that divided the two bathrooms, and if you were in one side with the lights off and the other side with the lights on, it was like a silhouette.
That's the new reason nobody wants to go now.
So yeah, for anybody that was looking for an excuse to not go on a trip, you now have a pretty solid reason.
I've never heard of that before.
No,
That was on a Valley 42.
Before or since. So I just clearly got just the right boat for your group.
Oh, and she waited for the last day. I find that very, very suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Where's Jory? Oh, I don't know. Matt's taking a shower.
Stop.
Hopefully Jory doesn't see this.
My face is starting to hurt, guys.
Oh, that's classic.
Okay,
But
this
the
is fun.
Abacos. Talk
I'm
about
actually
the
leaving for
Abacos.
the Bahamas tomorrow night. I'm going to the Exumas, but I have a trip to the Abacos in April, and I'm pretty excited. I've never actually sailed the Abacos, but
Yeah, what did you love?
yeah.
You know what? We got really lucky with a deviation in the wind and stuff, and we took advantage of that and went to Treasure Key. You should send him the video of the catamaran at Treasure Key. So one thing about the Abacos, unlike Greece and the U.S. Virgin Islands, is you're in shallow water all the time.
Very shallow.
You're in shallow water all the time.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful with that. But we got I guess it would be an eastern wind. I want to say it was an eastern wind. So it was blowing offshore at Treasure Cay, and it was spectacular. We anchored in 8 feet of water, and we'll send you this video that you could use for your promotion, because it was just The boat was so far off, and it was so shallow all the way in. It was picturesque. And Julie and I just walked on the beach, and we just enjoyed it. It was just a super experience.
Yeah. One thing I think with the shallow water too is you have a lot more opportunity to see the wildlife. So we saw turtles, we saw, stingrays, we saw a shark, lots of dolphins. So that was really special.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And when we were on the passage in the U.S. Virgin Islands, we actually saw, I was on the bridge and we were headed south, or let's see, I guess north. We were headed northwest, and the whitecaps were a little different. And I saw this one, and it looked like a whale spout. And sure enough, on that trip, we did see a whale, and it was probably 50 yards, 100 yards off our port side of the ship, and we saw that whale pop up and stuff. So that was spectacular.
Wow.
But the Abacos was. The Abacos was beautiful. You had a lot of ports. You were, I would even recommend that as a first experience for anybody who wants to do a catamaran, just because of the calm waters, the beauty of the water, the safe ports. You're basically in between two land masses. If the wind changes or picks up, you could hightail it to the other side and be in perfectly calm water for the evening. It was a spectacular trip. Really, really nice trip.
Well, I'm so thrilled that you've been able to sail in the Med and in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And people always ask, what's different? And I was like, well, if you want to see wildlife, go to the Caribbean, go to the Bahamas. If you want amazing history, culture, architecture, food, the Med's where you want to be, Greece, Italy, places like that. And so all these places that open to you when you know how to sail, you're gonna each place has its own something special to offer. And I love that you're going to the BVI's next month, it sounds like, in Croatia next August. I love that it's from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it's kind of opened up a new world that you guys are getting to explore with people you enjoy spending time with and making memories with. And I can't tell you how happy that makes me.
Well, I think you were a primary cause of that. I mean, just the experience on being on the boat, and you as a skipper, and just everything about that trip I just can't speak.
It was just inspiring. We
came
home inspired, and really it catapulted us into the next phase.
And looking at your journey, it's like, well, like Eric did this, Eric's doing that, Eric's doing that. Well, we gotta up our game, I mean, we gotta
do. Well, as we wrap up, I want to highlight one thing, and going back to the very beginning. And Julie, I think you said, when you got invited to go on this trip in Greece, you had some questions, you had some concerns. Oh, hey, our daughter Lily's popping in. You want to come say hi to her?
Hi there.
Aww.
Hey.
And you got a plant?
Hi.
A flower, a poinsettia.
Oh, thanks, sweetheart.
Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast episode. Okay, you want to hang out for it?
Just get back from this time.
Okay, all right. We'll talk in a second.
I don't need a bit of a shot.
For sure. Okay, so just going back to the beginning, when you were invited on this trip to Greece, and it was it Jory and who had been to the Abacos previously?
Sam and Marquesa had. So
Sam
they
and
had
Marquesa,
experienced the boat. Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, do this. This is gonna be great. So you had somebody that kind of made it easier for you to say yes, like somebody you knew that you could trust. Right. And even though you had some questions and concerns, and now that you've been out there, you know that people that you invite, they have some questions and concerns, and you're able to say, it's going to be fine, it's going to be great, and you keep having great trip after great trip. And right. And I guess for me, you have started to ask yourself, you're kind of over the fears of it, and everybody else that's asking what could go wrong, you're able to say, there's so much that's going to go right. And I love that you've been able to open that world up for yourselves and for, like I said, for other people that you are traveling with. And so to close out, I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing your story and for asking yourselves what could go right and asking your friends and family what could go right, and helping them get out on the water with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening. Before we wrap up, I just want to let you know what is available through our sailing update. We are going to be going to the Bahamas April 13th through the 18th. 13th through the 18th of April. At the moment, there are 2 cabins available. There are a number of people that are checking schedules, time off work and flights and stuff. But at the moment, 2 cabins are available. So if you'd like to join us, that will be our last spring trip to the warm water areas of the Bahamas. In June, we are going to Italy, June 6th through the 13th. We've got 4 cabins available. So I would love to fill that boat and have you part of that trip. It's a super fun one. If you haven't listened to our recent episode on Italy and why it's such a great trip, go back a few episodes and check that one out. Then July, we have 2 sold out Greece trips. Croatia in August is sold out. September, we're probably going to have to switch things up for our Norway trip due to boat availability. So stay tuned on that. What that means is that we will probably open up another week for a trip in the Mediterranean, Adriatic Sea area in September. So just stay posted there. At the moment, moving on, we have October 5 through 10, we're going to be in Mexico. We've got 1 solo female spot left. It's a fantastic trip. It's one of my favorite. So October 5th through the 10th, we're going to be in the Sea of Cortez, Mexico, near Baja Peninsula, and 1 solo female spot. We're back in the Bahamas later this year, November 9th through the 14th. The trip is sold out except for 1 solo female spot. November 9th through the 14th in the Bahamas. And then December 7th through the 12th, we'll be in the Virgin Islands, British Virgin Islands. The trip is sold out except for 1 cabin, which accommodates 2 people, and 1 solo male spot. So that is the lineup. The other thing that I'll say is that we are looking to do a trip specifically for people with Down syndrome. We would like to do it in the spring, April, May, maybe early June. And so if you know somebody or a loved one in your family, or you know somebody that would want to go sailing, it needs to be somebody with Down syndrome and then somebody that could travel with them. And we're going to be sponsoring part of the cost for that trip. There is still a cost to go, obviously, but we would love to have 4 people with Down syndrome and their traveling buddy to join me and my wife Emily and our daughter Lily, who has Down syndrome, and somebody else that will be joining us to help out with the trip. So if you're interested, let us know. We haven't picked a specific date or destination yet, but it's going to be pretty close to the US, and it's going to be April, May, possibly into June. So we're looking for interested people, and then once we know who's interested, we'll figure out a date and a time. But that is the update, and look forward to welcoming you aboard soon. We are always happy to tell you about our trips, but we want you to hear from people who have actually come out and gone sailing with us. So here is a takeaway from somebody who has gone sailing with us recently.
So apprehension wise, I'm a boater, so on the water is, like my dream. I've always loved the water. So really didn't have any apprehension there. I guess if I had an apprehension, it would be I'm not good at meeting a big group of people. It's not my personality. And you don't know who you're going to meet. Could be all great people, could be one sour apple in the bunch. So that would be my apprehension.
Sorry, Tom.
Is that the sour apple?
We can't disclose that at this time.
Second question.
Something that you like take away from this trip. Something that you.
Well, I learned that I don't know how to snorkel as well as I thought I did. And my lung capacity is not what I thought it should be. I enjoyed everything else, the sailing, learning how to do the sailing. I was amazed at how automated everything was, I guess, but on a boat this size, it's, I guess, to be expected. Third question.
If you were talking to somebody, they were thinking about coming on a trip like this, what would you say?
Absolutely. It's a true vacation. A lot of times vacations are frantic. but it's a true restful time. You get to learn sailing. You get to see a lot of different places. Absolutely recommend it to anyone.